Welcome back, everyone. Cell phone restrictions in classrooms come into play this fall. Students in grade K to 6 won't be allowed to have them for personal electronic use unless they're used for learning supports. And the board says they will be creating a policy to determine exactly how to proceed beyond this. And this might be a tough one for students, teachers, and families to navigate. But here to talk about that is Dr. Janine Hubbard. Thanks so much for being here this evening.
Thanks. I know I hate that we're talking about back to school, but it's the reality.
It's the reality. So when we look back to COVID days, you know, there was so much emphasis on tech in the classrooms and tech at home and incorporating tech into learning. But now when we talk about technology in the palm of our hands in classrooms, it can also be a distraction. What are your thoughts on just all-out cell phone bans in classrooms?
Well, there's pros and cons, like everything. Cell phones are a tool, and just like any tool, they can be incredibly useful, and they can perhaps, again, have some real challenges. I generally don't advocate cell phone use for K to 6 unless it's, again, for kind of emergency contact or medical situations, those types of things. Junior high is usually when parents are exploring the idea of the first cell phone. And there's no question, we have research that shows having access to them while in school increases distraction for many kids. We know that it increases bullying. We know that, there can be very challenging situations for teachers in terms of who's applying what rules. So that consistency piece can be really difficult. So we do know there are some significant downsides, but there's also some positives, and there's some ways of looking at it in, okay, if you just outright ban something, it's still going to get used. The more you tell a teenager they can't do something, I think most of us have seen what happens there. So it's more, again, ideally at that junior high age, let's teach responsible usage. Let's talk about what might be an altered image on social media. What are some of the pros and cons? Let's teach socially appropriate. No, you don't have you're not on your cell phone when this is happening, but during this time, that's okay. So like I say, adding basically media literacy into some of the programs moving forward. And then as parents, make sure you're modeling appropriate behaviors. Don't text your kid when they're supposed to be in the middle of class to tell them about dinner plans.
Yeah. It's a good point that you raise about parents too, because I think, it's easy to focus on the kids and how they're going to behave with this, but for parents, this is a bit of a safety catch basin, right? It's an ease of knowing where your kids are at all times. Maybe for some, it might feel like a tether for their kids. How do parents actually navigate this too?
Well, it is really tricky. And again, some of it is because a lot of parents don't feel comfortable or understanding all of the ins and outs or what might be happening. It's a great time for some shared accountability. Like I say, modeling that this time of year, all the electronics get charged in a central location. They don't go in the bedrooms overnight. Sorry, I know that's not popular, but it's incredibly important. But one of the things I like to do is kind of do a self-reflection. Okay, how much time do you think you spend on various platforms or on various apps in a week? We have easy ways to track that. Have you and your kids take a guess on it, monitor it a week later, and you may be surprised. And you can work on some family goals in terms of appropriate time, appropriate usage. What else could you be doing with that endless wasted time that you were scrolling? And so putting it in perspective, and like I say, teaching responsible usage.
Indeed. On Sundays, I get that report that tells me just how much time I spent on this, and I'm always shocked.
Yep.
Dr. Hubbard, thanks so much for being here today, and thanks for the thoughtful conversation that surely parents will have in the next couple of weeks.
Don't shoot the messenger. Thanks, Jody.